Hi, I'm Brent German from Win Against All Odds, here to teach you how to strive in life through adversity. I've got a special guest on today. We've got Dan Gaebler on. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. Thanks for coming on and approaching me. I appreciate it. Dan and I got similar stories. So one of the reasons I started this podcast off was I've had adversity. My mum died when I was 26, back in 1996, but I used that as fuel to change my life. I was a banker 17 years and I quit the bank and became a golf professional, which I've been doing for 18 years. And now I'm also doing mindset coaching through neuro-linguistic programming and also some intuitive healing and timeline therapy. So I've had a bit of a journey since that, but I've used that adversity to grow. And also we've got similar stories, Dan and I, in regards to suicide. My little sister Renee took her life in January 2017. And I also used that to as fuel to change my life even better again. So welcome, Dan. So I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so currently, I guess, business owner, run a medium-sized plumbing business in Sydney. 18-month-old daughter, and yeah, we learned we got one on the way, which is cool. Little boy's on the way.
Yep.
I guess for me, and I won't spoil the book too much, I guess, but yeah, I wrote a book. It was published about 12, 14 weeks ago. It is my story with battling with mental health, which culminated in a huge breakthrough at the age of 25, so 2015, in and around there. My issue was basically my own inner demons inside my head. So it was learned experience, it was environmental, and it came out in anger, big time. So that was the thing that I really struggled with. Off the back of that, I suppose you go a little bit deeper and you start to peel back the layers of why I was so angry. And yeah, there's been a few traumatic things in my life that happened. I think, as I said to you on the phone the other day when we connected, found a body when I was 15 in the surf, a guy that had committed suicide. We had to drag him back in, get the police involved, all that kind of stuff. That culminated, and then further down the timeline, been handed suicide notes by close friends, which thankfully we were able to prevent happening. Physically restrained my brother-in-law from jumping off overpasses, stuff like that. So although the book is very much around my journey, it is also a very relatable story for people to pick up and go, well, yeah, there's times in my life that I've experienced this or could have experienced that or could have gone one way down a path. So, yeah, it's just written by a, pretty normal Aussie dude.
Well done. Well, thanks for sharing that with the general public. And, yeah, mental health is a bugger, I'll just say. And my little sister Renee, when Mum passed, she basically had mental health from the age of 12 to the age of 33 until she passed. And she never really got a grasp on it, and it was just very hard for her. So I understood why she left, and I don't know how she coped for 21 years, basically, because it was very tough for her with bipolar, then schizophrenia. So, I'm sort of on the mental health bandwagon and just love to help people. And who knows, Dan, we may share the stage one day, sharing our message, just so we can help. If we help one person, that's all you really need to do. So,
yeah, well, that's basically, I guess, leading down to a bit more of my purpose. So, like, I'm very passionate about my plumbing business, but it's not the be-all and end-all passion in my life. The real thing that moves the needle for me in my life is helping people. I did do a keynote speech about 3 weeks ago and had a 56-year-old man come up and break into tears in front of me, and that was post the talk. So I know the message and the story and all that is very much impactful. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the journey, and yeah, I'd love to take you up on that offer. I think the two of us on the stage together would be fantastic.
And we can have a bit of fun too. I'm a pretty relaxed sort of. I grew up in the country, and I live in Melbourne now, but it's pretty down to earth like yourself, mate. And yeah, I'd love to do that at some stage.
I just won't be sharing a golf course with you because I'm a terrible golfer.
I'm just a little bit better being a golf professional, I guess.
Maybe you can give me some lessons one day.
I can try, certainly. And so in your talk, what do you think your main message was? Or did you give any pointers, I guess?
Yeah, so it's really about a two-prong attack, right? So I use the relatability of my story, who I am, to change and bring thought to the individual. So that's very much the guys in the trade space, and that culminates in, truck drivers and a wide range of the way guys think.
Yep.
And then the other side of it is very much around how we can change leaders in small business to help their employees or people that are working underneath them. So, recognition of when someone's mental health is slipping, what we can do to actually help that person, which then you get a better outcome out of that employee in your business. So it's a big circular, holistic approach to mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, but it all starts at the top, doesn't it? So if the culture's good at the top, the culture can filter all the way down. And especially now with the last 2 years, people been locked inside, I call it. And as humans, I think we either have fear or we don't have fear, or we either have anxiety or we don't have anxiety. And with people being locked up for 2 years, I think the anxiety is getting worse. And I've actually noticed in a lot of friends, their anxiety is going through the roof. They wouldn't even notice. But I had a friend the other day, and he was talking twice as fast as normal, and I couldn't get a word in, which is abnormal for him because this guy is normally pretty relaxed. So, yeah, I can see with anxiety and all those things that mental health has to get worse, unfortunately. So, more people like yourself out there, Dan, the better.
Yeah, and I think you guys down in Mexico have really done it a fair bit more tough than. Yeah, exactly right. Have done it a fair bit tougher, I think, than anybody else, really. I suppose you'd include Western Australia in that. But, yes, Sydney was locked down for a fair stage, but I don't think it was anywhere near as bad as you guys down there. So I definitely think nationwide, the real issue of mental health far outweighs anything that coronavirus could ever do. But I think it's definitely going to be a big issue down in your region.
Yeah, it will be. Like when I was up in Brisbane, I don't like to talk about suicide too much, but when I was up in Brisbane, at my mate's house having a few beers, his next door neighbour's a musician. And because all the musicians couldn't sing or perform for a long time, he said 5 of his friends of this musician took their lives because they didn't know when they were going to perform again. And the sad thing is that suicides aren't getting reported at all. And I know within myself that they're worse than what they've ever been.
If you work out the numbers, so there's between 8 and 9 a day, that's far outweighs any deaths that a certain coronavirus may have brought.
Yeah, well, that's right. I actually call it BS, so I'm not sure what you call it to your mates, but that's what I call it.
It's definitely an interesting one, but I think the real issue isn't being spoken about, and that doesn't even bring into effect the attempts, the people that are actually down because of it. Like,
yep.
I think the numbers, if we were to actually go deep into it, would be astronomically shocking.
Yeah, they have to be. I know myself when we were locked down for 6 months, I'm a fairly positive sort of guy, extrovert, out there, talk to anyone. I talk to a polar, but talk back. But I remember when I was talking to people I knew, first time ever, but I can catch myself out. I wasn't looking at them, I was looking down the ground. I'm going, what's going on? I'm going, oh, hang on, the lockdown. But I being a coach, I caught myself out and I changed that state like that. But a lot of people can't. So
no, and that comes through education, I think. And I definitely do touch on that through the book. I think, without going into it too much, but
yep.
We come out of high school and we are not prepared for life at all. There's no emotional intelligence coaching. There's nothing. So unfortunately, we have to go through a lot of pain to find the right coaches to come out the other side.
Yeah.
I know I'm very good now at recognizing when I'm slipping myself, and then you can do something about it. But if you've never gone through that process or you don't actually know what you're looking for, people aren't very good at articulating how they're feeling.
Especially males, especially men.
Well, yeah, especially males. But, I bring women into that too, really, because they are very good at talking, but they're not very good at the solution-based, whereas guys are. So my biggest thing is to catch a man before he commits suicide or before he does something to himself is very much in that moment, because we get to a point where the pain of doing nothing the pain of doing something far outweighs the pain of doing nothing. So in that moment, we put our hand up and we want help right then and there. But in Australia at the moment, I know for a fact there's 6 months wait to get into psychologists, psychiatrists, and that's just freaking good.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Mental health plans and all that kind of stuff there's just so much time that guys just go, well, I can't wait that long.
Oh, wow. I didn't actually realise it was that bad. So thanks for sharing that, especially
shockingly bad. Shockingly bad.
Listeners. Far out. 6 months.
Yeah.
So I suppose when it comes to that waiting 6 months, what tip would you give them to change their mindset straight away, just like that? So if they're thinking about taking their life or something, what would you do?
So again, too, and I've said this time and time again, I've got nothing against psychologists, psychiatrists, all that kind of stuff, nothing against them whatsoever. But when I was 24, it didn't sort of suit me to go down that path. I think if someone was going to tell me facts and figures and that kind of stuff, I was just going to lose my brain. So I was lucky enough that I connected with an emotion coach up here in Sydney. He was able to catch me in my moment. I was never going to plan the suicide thing because I'd obviously seen it time and time again and the impact that it's had. But I planned my own escape. So I was just going to go and start a new life in Perth, away from everyone, change my name, the whole lot. But in my absolute time of crisis, in the moment when I was about 2 Ks away from the turnoff to head west, I rang this fella and, the universe aligned and I ended up getting an appointment right then and there, driving straight to his office. And within 45 minutes, he completely changed the course of my life. So it is in that moment that, someone might have planted a seed with you 6 months ago. Hey, I've seen this person before. Here's their phone number. And you may have discounted it, but I know that number's sitting in your phone, burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
Before you do anything silly, pick up the phone.
So it's about taking action, right? I had the same experience myself. When Mum passed in 1996, I was in the National Bank then, and we had free sessions with the psychologist. I went there and I walked out and I just said, what the fuck was that all about? And I felt like I was too analytical. I'm not analytical brain. It was too analytical. Then I thought, I'll go back again and see what it was like. But as you said, they were boring for me. They were talking about facts and figures and how shit works, which bores the shit out of me. And I'm not a huge fan of psychologists. So if psychologists want to can this podcast, it doesn't bother me because I've actually consulted for a psychologist. And I just remember that she showed me the file. This person had been there spent 20 sessions, 20 hours with this person. They still hadn't touched the topic. I'm highly intuitive, so I knew what was going on without even reading the notes. And sure enough, the thing I said she'd never spoken about in 20 sessions. So I'm on the same page as you, Dan. I wouldn't actually recommend a psychologist. I'd recommend someone else, either like myself or your guy Scott in Sydney, because he'd be intuitive as well. and more
definitely.
solution-based rather than facts-based.
To be honest, like I'm a lot more on the fence than you, I guess. My whole approach is I still think somebody doing something is better than nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
And starting that process is, the first person that you go and see may not be the person that gets you to where you need to be, but it's about starting that process. And if you're going to choose between ending your life or doing something stupid or going to see a psychologist or psychiatrist, I know where I'm aiming you, right?
Yeah.
However, my journey has taken me down a very spiritual path. So I ended up doing my Reiki master and all that kind of stuff. So that's been my journey. Now I know, spirituality can be the word that gives people the real heebie-jeebies, and when people aren't ready for it, it's driving it down their throat like religion, right? So, if walking in through the gates of the hospital and putting your hand up and saying I need major help right now, if that's what you can go and do and that's the action you're going to take, well, just please take it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. You got to start somewhere, and just got to get some help. And as you said, it might not be the first person you see, it might be the fourth person you see, but just starting that journey, admitting you have a problem, is a good start.
Yeah, and no doubt. Like you're gonna pick up nuggets of wisdom from everybody you see, right? So you never discount anybody, but take away from it what feels right, I guess.
Yeah. And while we're on that topic, I don't think family or friends can really help you too much in regards to, unless they've been through something on a similar path or journey themselves. So I would say, see someone else. I mean, sure, it's good enough to tell your mates that you're not feeling well, but I'd still get you to go and get professional help of some sort.
Yeah, look, I definitely agree on that. I think families can be the major trigger point for people. Sometimes they are the best mirror for you, but they also open up the heart, the deepest, darkest wounds. It's interesting though, off the back of the book, I've had some feedback from family that I was never expecting. My mother-in-law has been my greatest supporter through this book. And it was just one of those comments and things that I had in my head. I guess it was more of a protection than, if she ever reads it and I get some decent feedback, I'll be super happy. But, she threw her arms around me and, she's listened to basically every podcast that I've done, basically every talk. She's read the book. She's flying my flag. I've also had my cousin who, he's not really a very open sort of individual, but through support read my book and rang me and said, Dan, you've absolutely nailed it with this. And I guess that softly approach, just picking up the book and reading it has been so much more beneficial than, I think we've all been guilty at time and time again of jumping on your soapbox and trying to drive your agenda down some family member's throat. And that will never get you anywhere. That's not planting a seed. That's kicking someone's door in.
Yeah. No, that's right. What's the title of your book?
It's called The Centered Tradie.
Oh, cool. Come from a tradie. So getting centered, getting grounded. Is that why you called it that? I'm just guessing.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah. Like my emotional pendulum used to spin around like a bloody spinning top. The wind would blow and my emotions would be all over the place. And it's been a journey of probably, up post my breakthrough, it's been probably 5 years of definitely learning about myself, going up and opening the the boxes that we all put on the shelf and never do anything about. Going and into some old stories. I have done some past life stuff. I've gone really down that path. So really about anchoring myself, and yes, I still experience all the emotions of anger, pain, all that kind of stuff, but it's really about catching yourself and bringing yourself back to center.
Yeah, so you've really, sounds like from what you just said, you've broken your patterns, and you're aware when you're in a bad pattern, we're going to call it, and through your research into past lives or family history, whatever you want to call it, you've understood why you do what you do and why you are the way you are. And I've done that sort of.
Yep.
I remember good old grandma, bless her soul, but I remember talking to grandma a couple of years before she passed, and I said, "Grandma, let's have a D&M." I was really close to my grandma, and I said, "Can you tell me everything about our family history, and I won't tell anyone." And I sat there for 2 hours, and it's just like I sat there going, "Ooh, didn't know that, didn't know that, didn't know that," and she said something about Granddad. And I said, "Yeah, I actually remember you didn't really like him much. I could tell when I was 8. I could just tell you didn't like him much," and it was true. But there was a lot of bad stuff that happened in her past, and also my family's. And just knowing the past helped me take the next step to not do what they did, basically. So
yeah, and look, part of what I'm so unbelievably grateful for is me. I guess this is going to be a weird comment, I guess, but me being chosen to break the generational curses and the issues that I can see in the generations past. And I'm so unbelievably thankful that I guess these big shoulders have been the ones that have sort of carried the weight and been able to break through that, so I don't pass that on to my children.
yeah.
Because I never, ever want them to go through the pain that I've been through. So I know now that with my daughter, I can really relate to her and make sure that, yes, there's going to be adversities that she's going to go through, and she's going to definitely be on her own journey. However, there are pointers that I can give her through recognition that is not going to see her fall to the depths that I did. And that's going to be the same as my son. Like, I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm so unbelievably thankful that I had a daughter first, because it softened me to be able to have the son.
Yeah.
I think being in this very male-dominated industry that I'm in, my management style pre the breakthrough, so I started my business very young. About 22 years old, I started my business. So it was very much how I learnt to deal with people in that very dominant style.
Yep.
And that has completely 180. Even the way that the team talk about me now, how they deal with me, how I interact with them is just unbelievably different. And that's going to be brought through with how I deal with my son, who's born late December at this stage. So something else I'm looking forward to.
Oh, congrats! What date?
He's due around the 1st of Jan, but I think he'll go a little bit early.
Yep.
This year is phenomenal. It's the year of the bees for me. It's baby, business, and book.
Oh, perfect. The 3 Bs.
Yeah, so I've just exited my business partner. So very much back in a hugely operational role in the business, but feeling that is really right at the moment until we can probably get the resources behind us to probably put someone on that's going to fill that role.
Yep. Oh, perfect. And then you'll transition into coaching people, I guess.
Yeah, like that's really what I'm about. Yeah, just like I'm never ever going to walk away from the plumbing business, but it's just going to give me that time to be able to spend helping people, basically.
Yep. And that's why you're put on the earth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, um, my last name is from German descent.
Yep.
And it wasn't until very recently that I was talking to a girl from Switzerland. So, I don't know if you know much about Switzerland. There's Swiss German, Swiss Italian, and Swiss French. So she's Swiss German.
Yep.
And she looked at my last name and said, Gabler's a fork, but it's not a fork. It's like a fork in the road.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm actually living my purpose as helping people at that point in their life when they've got a real fork in the road.
That could be a new business name, I reckon. I love it. Fork in the road.
It's unbelievably cool. Hey, so that absolutely blew my mind, and that was probably a month ago. I had that conversation. So yeah,
I love it. That really resonates when you say fork in the road.
Yeah,
I think most people know what that means. You're thinking either left or right, and hopefully, if you go the right direction, you go take the right path.
Well, time and time again, you've seen him. Well, if you ever read my book, you'll see how many times I've come to that fork in the road and probably made the wrong decision.
No, but you've got to make it. Life's all about making a decision. A lot of people don't actually make a decision, and they don't make a decision about anything. That's why they get, well, it's my belief, but that's why they get stuck in depression and anxiety. So they just can't decide.
No, I agree. But I guess the real big thing is you can always come back to that point, and I think people don't realize that. You can actually retrace your steps and come back to that fork in the road and choose again.
Yeah.
But if you go and do something stupid, and, as we've said it time and time again, if you do take your own life, you can never come back from that. Mm-hmm. And you'll never, ever break that curse. I don't know how spiritual you want to go, but as I said,
I'm spiritual too. It's all right. Go for it.
Past life sort of stuff, you can go back and heal. But if you don't break these curses in this lifetime, they will follow you into the next.
Yeah.
You have to owe it to yourself to actually heal.
Yeah, correct. Heal thyself, Louise. Mm-hmm. Hay. Yeah, I understand that. I still need to do a bit of past life work. One of my business coaches, Tanya, I know about 12 years ago, she said there's some past life stuff you need to delve in, and I still haven't done it yet, but I understand what she means.
I had one of the most amazing experiences. It was probably about 6 to 8 weeks ago with a past life stuff.
Yep.
And absolutely floored me. It was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Johnny Mew, a guy up in the sunny coast in Queensland, he is unbelievable at taking people back through the past life stuff. And for me, that journey was just absolutely incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I suppose after the session, how did you feel after that session? Maybe in one word, if you can.
It's probably more, it was the keystone, I felt.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a real keystone moment. Sort of brought everything together.
So you found your why, maybe? Or your purpose? Or more linked to that?
No, I think it was more about a holistic understanding of who I am as a person.
Yep.
And probably putting a bit of baggage down, to be honest.
So baggage, for those people that don't know what that is the things that you have in your life that don't serve you in a positive manner. That's my definition anyway.
Yeah, it's like just icky weight. It's just the heaviness.
So you felt a bit of relief, sounds like.
Yeah, so do you want me to go into it very briefly?
Yeah, go into it. I'm spiritual too, so go for it. I want you to be authentic and just say what you need to say.
Yeah, so for me, obviously having German heritage, I said that before, I've had this real pull towards the Jewish religion, Germany in itself, I've been having flashbacks of like a concentration camp kind of style, dreams, all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I listened to a podcast probably 3 months ago by Sarah Grimberg. She interviewed a guy named Ephraim Finch. He worked in a Jewish mortuary, and I'm telling you that podcast fundamentally changed everyone's existence. I cried for 50 minutes basically about his experiences and his view on life and death. So that brought up a few emotions for me. And
good.
I just reached out to Johnny, he's a mate of mine, and I just said, mate, I've just got this real heavy feeling about Germany and all that kind of stuff. So he really took me back. And long story short, I was a very, very young SS soldier that had arrived at a concentration camp and basically could not deal with what I was seeing, and I ended up taking my own life right then and there on a train platform.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and mate, even now talking about it, just got goosebumps. It was so unbelievable that I could see. It was nearly like I could smell and taste the feelings like I was there, but so vividly I could see it. So, yeah, mate, going back and just healing that and understanding that no matter where I was through past lives, I've always been a good person there to serve.
Yep.
I think I was like 17 or 18 years old at that stage. So, yeah, that was that sort of story, which is, still blows my mind.
Was that, did you say that, was that guy's name Ephraim?
Ephraim Finch, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was the podcast?
Okay, just so my granddad's name was Ephraim. So when you said that, I gone, whoa, that's a bit similar.
Yeah. It's funny. I've sent that exact episode to a couple of my mates. The ones that are aligned with me that would just get it, and the same stories. I've just had the guys ring me and go, mate, I took the dog for a walk while I was listening to the podcast, and I ended up 20 streets away, not knowing where I am because I'm just so involved in the story. So,
wow.
Yeah, I really suggest that you jump on and have a listen to that one.
I'll throw that in the comments anyway when I post this podcast. But isn't it funny? And you've said something there, and I've just clicked with it. But I've always sort of connected with Jewish people. And I don't really know my family heritage, but my surname is German, so I was going to assume I'm German, even though my granddad was from England. But I always get on really well with Jewish people, always have. Whereas a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
It's weird, but I always have. But, I get on with everyone. But you said something really important there a few minutes ago, and this is huge. And I think this is probably the crux of the whole podcast today. You said that you cried for 45 minutes. So when you cry, you release an emotion, actually helps you calm down, and you're probably releasing all the shit in your life previous to that moment. So it's actually one of my tips, especially for guys, because they don't really cry much. And I tell people all the time that if you just feel like crying, just cry. And it doesn't matter where you do it, because if you need to do it in public, you need to do it then and there and not hold on to it. But I always use this thing about strangers' care, and you probably know what I'm talking about. I remember I was dressed up in a suit about 5 or 6 years ago. I was in the street of Cranbourne, and for those of you who know Melbourne, Cranbourne's not the most affluent suburb in Melbourne. And I was walking down the street about lunchtime, and I felt I had to grab my heart. It felt like I couldn't breathe. La-di-da. I felt like shit, basically. And it felt like I was going to have a heart attack. And I remember walking past this guy, and it was a homeless guy. And he goes, "Are you all right, mate? Can I help you with anything?" I've just taken a step back. I go, wow, I don't even know that guy. Never met him. Never actually seen him before. He was living on the streets, but he actually asked me if I needed any help. And I thought, how cool is that? So from a man's point of view, guys, it's not you're not a pussy if you cry. You're actually more masculine, and you never know who that person is. Like you had your guy Scott that you rang within an hour and a half of leaving Sydney and starting a new life, but you never know who that person's going to be that really changes your life. And it's happened many a times with people I've helped, and it just works. So guys, cry, and women, of course, but I reckon that's a huge tip. Just cry.
Yeah, like just going back very quickly, the Jewish thing. I was so fortunate last year. I got to go to lunch with a very close mate of mine and his rabbi.
Oh, cool.
Mate, what an hour and a half. So at the time, I think it was quite a little bit niggly. Me and my wife, we just had our daughter. You know, for those people that have had kids, I think that first 6 months is just traumatic for both of you. And it was interesting that my mate, he's quite a bit older than me, but he was having some marital issues.
Yep.
And the rabbi sat back and listened to the conversational piece between me and my mate, and he piped up. And he said to Brent, "Do you know the story of the mezuzah?"
Said to who? Brent?
And
Did you say
like,
Brent?
Yeah, my mate Brent.
Brent who? There's not many Brents in the world. I might know him.
No, he's up here. He's up here.
I might Tony Robbins like I've done. Who is it?
No, he definitely hasn't. Max, I can't say his last name. It's about that long.
At alphabet, we call that.
Yeah, definitely. And I said, mate, what's a mezuzah? Like, I was so unbelievably interested.
Yep.
And he said, over every door in a Jewish person's house is a scroll. And it's got, I think it's got prayers and the Hebrew scroll and all that kind of stuff on it. So he said, I think there was 10 rabbis that were trying to decide how it sat, so either vertically or horizontally. And they came up with that every mezuzah sits on a 45-degree angle. And he said, like in everything, life is a compromise.
Yeah.
And that absolutely blew me away. Just in that moment, it was such a simple story, but from then on, like, it's that understanding and that learning to come home and go, well, you've got your shit, but your wife's got hers as well. It is about finding that common ground and making it work. And like, I've done all the love languages and all that kind of stuff before, but it was just a real take me back to just in that moment. I really needed to hear that. And yeah, everything just changed.
No, I actually got goosebumps when you said that. That actually makes total sense, because if one person in the marriage is this way, another one's this way, this person this way always thinks they're right, and this person this way always thinks they're right, they're not meeting in a common ground. And when you said 45-degree angle, I thought of that as a positive motion in going forward in life as well, because that's sort of a forward look.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. I will post that in the comments. And
so
it sounds like the podcast you listen to is similar to a book that gets recommended by a lot of people, Viktor Frankl, The Man's Search for Meaning. And that was similar to what you said about the concentration camp in your past lives. This guy spent a long time in a concentration camp in the same place, but it's just his attitude when he was in there was unbelievable. It's a good story.
Yeah. I was so lucky. You know the book, The Happiest Man on Earth?
I do now.
Yeah. Concentration camp. Unbelievable story. I won't wreck it for you, but I was so unbelievably fortunate to see him talk before he passed away at the Sydney Jewish Museum between the two lockdowns. Mate, one of those experiences that you will take to the grave. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be telling my grandkids that I actually witnessed this guy talk after his book, and you know, since then it's become one of the most popular books globally.
What's the guy's name?
So, yeah. Damn it, I knew you'd ask me that. I've just forgotten. Hang on one sec. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
It's the happiest man on earth. I'm going to Google it right now.
Eddie Jaku.
Eddie.
That's right.
That's my Shepparton nickname, actually, when I used to live there, Eddie.
The happiest man on earth. Yep.
Cool. I'm going to listen to it on Audible. So what you're allowed to... You don't need to wreck it for me. What'd you learn from it? Because if someone's listening to this now and you share your story about what you learned, this comment you make now, or sentences or whatever, could change someone's life. So what'd you learn? Go for it.
Wow, how to sum that book up in a sentence.
No, it doesn't have to be a sentence, but just what did you learn from it? Talk for as long as you want. It's fine.
It's very much for me around what actually matters in life.
Yep.
The adversities and all the stuff that he went through. I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on things that really don't matter at the end of the day.
Yep.
You can see he was very big at the end of his life, or especially in his talks about his family and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the stuff that really makes you feel good, go out and do.
Yeah, that's right.
And really not hold on to hate.
Oh, that's a word that with my clients, when they come for mindset coaching, if they're using that word a lot, I actually educate them on the feeling and the meaning behind that word. And I take that word out of their vocab, because that word, I don't even like to say it, but that word hate really has a lot of attachments to it of a negative proportion. It can actually really take a lot of positive energy out of your body. So,
it's heavy, right?
Yeah,
so
it's
heavy.
A bad word. So by change your words, you change your life is true, which is one of the 20 or 30 things I do when I see my clients for life coaching, or whatever you want to call it, mindset coaching. So yeah, change your words, change your life.
Yep.
And probably being a trader, you probably hear lots of swear words, I'm assuming, during the day.
Yeah, look, I really don't think swear words are all that bad, to be honest with you. Like, if you have a look in my book, there's time and time again where, there's F's, there's S's, there's you name it. But I think it does bring a bit of humor and emotion and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't think, used in the right context, swear words aren't that bad.
Pretty much the only time there's a couple of times when I drop the big F-bomb. It's when I stub. This is a thing that my cousin does as well. I'm always stub my toe somewhere in the house. So I drop the F-bomb because I do it that often. And if I hit a really bad golf shot playing a golf tournament, I drop the F-bomb. But I've got to be careful, because if I get caught out, it's a $600 fine. So only 2 times.
Geez, I'd hate people to follow me around on the golf course.
You have to have a bank behind you.
Exactly right.
Have you got your book there with you?
I've got one in the car, but no, not in front of me.
No, it doesn't matter, mate. It doesn't matter. Don't put yourself down, Dan.
No, conversational. You'd think you'd be prepared at 7 o'clock in the morning, but anyway.
That's all right. Well, I actually have been. I've put my washing away, had breakfast, done quite a few things, and I've got another podcast after this, actually.
No, I was up at 4:30 with a daughter, mate. She's an early riser.
Cool. Well, that's all right. Probably like you. You're a tradie, so you're an early riser. Just following Dad's lead.
Yep, correct. Exactly.
Anything else you want to share today, Dan?
I think we've covered a lot, to be honest. We've gone down some paths that I suppose you and I weren't really expecting to go down, but that's the super cool nature of conversation.
Yeah, correct. So the podcast is a journey, life's a journey. You're always going to hit, I say life is like a heart rate monitor. You ever seen a heart rate monitor? There's ups and downs. And it's basically how you handle the downs. Because, look, at the end of the day, everyone has downs. It's how you handle the downs. And I'm going to give a good shout out to my best mate ever, like my brother Steve Beatty, but I think I've always had a positive mindset. And even when we were young, he said, if you don't have bad times, you don't appreciate the good times. And that's just what we used to say to each other. And I've got another mate, Troy Chamelin, up in Shepparton. And when we were going through adversities in 1996, both of us, we became good mates. We were working together. And just out of the blue, we didn't read anywhere. We just started saying to each other, live in the now. So when you live in the present, you're not worrying about the future or the past. It really helped us sort of change our lives just by saying that to each other all the time. And there's a couple of things I actually say to my clients as well. Live in the now, because it actually brings you back to the present. And where life lives is in your heart. So I love that you're sharing with your tradie workers and tradie mates and everything. You're just being authentic with what you do. And sometimes being a male and sharing your spiritual past can be a bit scary at the start, but just by being authentic and saying you like it, because I know I had the same problem, because I do Reiki, I do tarot, I do all this sort of stuff. But I just went out of my comfort zone where life lives, and I just started doing all these things to my close mates, and I talk about it. But I actually thought they'd start hanging shit on me, but they didn't. It was weird, because I was just being me.
Yeah. But in the right context and in the right environment, it can be amazing. Like, I'm probably not gonna I'm not gonna talk about the spiritual side of me necessarily at the pub with people that I don't know all that much, but it's not the right environment. But the men's circles that I run, the conversations I have with my guys, it's funny, even conversations I've had on building sites have been of a spiritual nature, or even to the point where it's been a bit of a coaching. Like, I did give one of my books to a foreman on a site that we're doing some work for. And I just said, mate, have a read of this. I've written this book. Just give me your feedback. And I just left it at that. But I could see that there was something he was holding on to. And he rang me the following week and said, Dan, that night I read your book cover to cover. I actually booked in to go and see someone that night online. The day after, I went to their office, saw this person, which funnily enough ended up being Scott. But he didn't actually know it was. And he said, I've got the next 5 or 6 sessions already booked with him, and I can see that he's going to change my life.
Wow, yeah.
So for me, in 2 instances, I set out to achieve change, and I've changed 2 people's lives that I 100% know of. So for me, like, job's not done, but a huge amount of satisfaction around that. I even had a professional surfer reach out to me on LinkedIn, and he's read the book, and he's going to be one of my hugest advocates. So, there's so much cool
I better
stuff
write my book. I've got all the chapters written. I just haven't written the content.
You know what? Everybody does that. I was lucky enough, I guess, that I've got ADD, so I just got in there and punched the book out. And the hard part for me was going back and editing.
Oh, why is that? Try to be perfect or something, you mean? Or
no, it's funny, and I say in the first little part of my book, I've never actually sat down and physically read a book cover to cover. I'm fantastic on Audible, but to be able to put a book on Audible, you need to write it first. So, got in, absolutely punched the book out. I actually started it as a journal.
Oh, cool.
But it very much went down the path of it turned into a book, and got some feedback from the publisher, and here we are.
Perfect. So, what was the investment in writing that book? There was a lot of time, obviously, but was there a monetary number? Just so if people think about writing a book, let's tell them roughly what it costs.
So, it's funny, I've spoken to a lot of authors since I've got it out there, but the way I went through, it cost me about $5,000. But then that's to get it published, edited, all your artwork, and to get it on Amazon. That's no marketing.
Okay.
So I'm going down the marketing path now to get that out. So I reckon estimates would be, to do it right, you'd probably be looking between 20
and 30 grand, yeah. But as you said, the book changed two people's lives, so it's worth it. Already.
Well, it's funny. When I first went out in this journey, I told myself it was never going to be about a commercial or monetary thing. It was purely to help people. And it wasn't until I'd had a conversation with, Aaron Whitnish's wife
yep.
Paula. She had a very much positive effect on my mindset around it. And she said, Dan, you owe this to the world to make it a commercial venture, so you have the ability financially to spread your message, because you can't consistently pay for flights to go and do keynote speeches and all that kind of stuff off your own back. You need to actually get an income to be able to support that. And I went, well, mate, you just hit the nail on the head. So yeah, for me, it is going to be about, I guess, getting the support behind me to be able to spread the message.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Okay, give your book. Tell us the name of your book again and give it a plug, and where do people get it?
The Centered Tradie is what it's called. Easiest place to get it is Amazon.
Is it
unbelievable?
Is it a physical book or is it a downloadable book?
It's a physical copy, and you can get it on Kindle. I am in the process of getting it on Audible.
Okay, perfect. Are you speaking or are you getting someone else to speak?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I started off the process and I was very much against my own voice and reading the book myself. So I started to get a few quotes of people to narrate the book. And I guess that was a bit of a roadblock for me because I was getting quotes upwards of 10 grand.
I'd rather you do it, mate. Your voice is pretty good, and it's
exactly
more authentic.
Right.
It's coming from your heart, right?
Correct. Yeah, correct. I think that might have been an old story of mine that's popped up, right? So definitely had a fair few people get stuck into me and say, Dan, it is you. It has to be you. It has to be your voice. You've got the voice for the book. So, yeah, here I am.
Now, one of my mentors is, I'm going to give him a bit of a shout out, Shane Maher. He he had Shane, what's their names? Wayne Dyer and Jim Rohn attend one of his training courses years ago. And I remember going to Shane's house one day and he goes, you've got A triple D, A double D, or whatever it's called, right? And I've gone, why do you say that? He goes, because I've got it. I've gone, no, I can pick it in anyone. And he's a hypnotherapist and all this sort of stuff as well. And I've gone, oh, okay. And he told me this, something along these lines. He said, it's actually a benefit. And he said to me, which is what I say to my clients, I don't like labels. And he said, what it means is you're intelligent, you remember everything. We talk fast, big deal. But it just means you're intelligent and you remember everything everyone tells you. So I said, thanks. So I've actually taken what he's taught me in with my clients as well. So
Yeah, I don't necessarily think the label's necessarily a bad thing, but if you use it as a crutch, then it is. But if you use it to get understanding, then it's so unbelievably freeing. So, you start to understand how you're put together, how you think, how you learn, how you operate, how you work. Unbelievably.
Yeah, what's the benefit of this? How is this serving me with anything? Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And then they can open up doors and windows and all that sort of stuff. Anything else you'd like to finish on, Dan?
Mate, I think we've covered a hell of a lot in an hour.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. And chat soon.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm just